Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Welcome to the Sketch Show. Today we highlight Earl Harvey, More Than an Idea, an Initiative. Earl Harvey. Now, I'm going to start this one off upbeat. Smile and highlights all the way through. No dragging, heartbreaking stories should be in connection with this great Black entrepreneur. First, let me welcome you to the Marker Sketch Show, powered by Maryam's Mark and Company, a monthly show sharing highlights and news jacks worthy using the art of storytelling one sketch at a time. Please like and subscribe and tell your friends. Now, back to it. Earl Harvey, More Than an Idea, an Initiative. Now, let me share how I was initially introduced to Earl Harvey, which happened in multiple ways. First, sharing my internal love for news and media. Growing up, I was the kid who asked all those questions, Family members would say to me, or they would say, they wouldn't just say it to me, but they would just say, well, what is Maryam doing, writing a book or something? She's always asking so many questions. I watched the news intently a lot. I read a lot of books. We had the encyclopedia at my grandma's where I spent a lot of time on one dedicated wall. And that was kind of what she did with me when I came over. She wanted me to read parts of the encyclopedia. So it's a while back. We're in Google time now, so I might be dating myself. So go with it, all right? Don't call me old. I'm 27 forever. Anyway, now, my grandma, she would say stuff like, leave her be or whatever until she got agitated. I would go to school and I'd write, of course, and I'd win some of those different creative writing contests they had. And I'd come back to my grandma's and I would show her my awards and stuff. And sooner or later, she told people, yeah, Maryam is writing a book, god damn it. And that would be her answer, leave her alone, And as time progressed, I'd go off to high school, of course, because this was like middle school years and in high school. But when I got into high school, I joined the school newspaper committee, and I was one of the junior editors. So I would write different articles for the school newspaper, which also ended up in the local news. Our local newspaper was published by the Bartash Printing Company. Bartash Printing Company went out of business a couple years ago, in maybe 2018, I want to say. Nevertheless, I was so proud of myself. I won journalism awards. I even got a scholarship to go to college to really own in on journalism, but I turned that down. I decided I wanted to go on a different road. I wanted to be a graphic designer. I wanted to learn how to really design page layout and publications at mass, bigger than what I had already knew. I already knew how to make a newspaper using Microsoft Word, but that wasn't enough for me. I mean, if I've already been winning creative writing awards, I kind of thought, well, do I really need to go to college for journalism? I'm already doing stuff. It's like, it just didn't make sense to me. To the outsiders, they probably were like, she's stupid. But I didn't feel that way. Now, I graduated from high school. It was 1999. Iconic year for Earl Harvey, okay? Let me tie this together. Pay attention now, because these are the shoestrings. So, 1999 was my last year of high school, and I already owned my own little home computer. So I was really, really happy about my little world, okay? Now, in 1999, that was the same year Earl Harvey began publishing the Black Professional Newsletter. And I began seeing the BPN for the first time. I saw it at school on my teacher's desk. And then I saw it again at my dad's store. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, what is this? And my dad told me, my teacher told me what was going on. And it was just like, I had to read this newspaper. I needed it. It was just becoming a part of my teenage life at that time, my teenage journalistic life. Now, the Black Professional News was powerful, for what I saw it as. I was so excited because reading the stories were about entrepreneurs. Not just any entrepreneurs, but ones like my own parents, people of color, or people, well, what my father would have said was the indigenous people. Indigenous people is what my dad liked to say. Now, the Black Professional News, again, was powerful for the Indonesia's business owner. It was the fuel needed to keep engines going, helping with exposure, sharing messages and business details on paper, specifically for the man and woman of color, the entrepreneurs. It was like a modern day freedom journal. Y'all know what that is. If you don't, give yourself some history. I'm not going to share out. But it was. I saw it that way. It was a modern day freedom journal. I thought to myself, I only know how to create a newsletter using Microsoft Word. I have to learn how to make an actual big newspaper. I remember wanting to meet Mr. Harvey and just shake his hand hysterically, like I was a crazed fan. I recall discussing with our senior editor that our story should be published in the BPN. But it was sort of like unlikely due to we were only covering the high school news and sports. We didn't cover anything business related, and I was so disappointed, y'all. I was so upset. Take a minute to cry. Alright, I'm gonna dry my tears. Okay, but it was so disappointing, but that's okay. That's all right. I didn't press the issue, but I often have wished I did. Pitching a column for teen sports and student ran clubs and how those different things can be the baby to entrepreneurship, teamwork and organization and things of that nature. But again, I obviously didn't pitch a thing back then. I continued writing for my high school newspaper and enjoying the BPN from afar. Honestly, I'll actually bring something else up. Earl Harvey's Black Professional News always made me think about the Muhammad Speaks newspaper created by Malcolm X. Now, the Muhammad Speaks newspaper was from the Nation of Islam, and it covered food, health, education, business, and the Nation of Islam's religious messages. One of the key messages of the Nation of Islam was to have economic self-sufficiency. Know for self, do for self, self-reliance, Black empowerment, y'all, okay? The teachings of Fard and Elijah Muhammad, it kind of slowly whisked away in maybe the mid-70s, early 80s, when Elijah Muhammad's son became the successor of the Nation of Islam, creating a split in beliefs, directing members to the Sunni Islamic practices, and ending many of the NOI's then programs. And some of the gigantic entrepreneurial programs and spirit kind of dwindled away under the nation or within the nation. Not all, though. Not all of them, but some of them under Elijah Muhammad's son. There was a split. Now, I offer this part of history because there are some similarities. Not from a religious standpoint. Not at all. I wouldn't say that. But view it as a movement in similarity. If you haven't yet, view the Black Professional News, the Black Professional TV, and the network as a movement. And I'm going to let you sit on that and think about it. View it as a movement. Let me get some of this smudging going. Wait a minute. Let me just take a break. I'm going to take a deep breath. Y'all take a deep breath with me. That's... Get my pencil together because I got to smudge with this a little. I really want this art piece to be amazing, everybody, because it's so important to us. This is us right here, okay? Us. So I'm going to put a little more work, a lot more work, because this is important to us in the Harvey movement. Now, as I was saying, I offer that part of history of the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, not just not from a religious standpoint, but viewed as a movement. The Black Professional Newspaper, the Black Professional Newspaper TV, and the network is a movement. Something large enough to direct and resurrect a people, to ensure economic worth. Now, Brother Harvey, he noticed something was missing, okay? And he wanted to fill a gap specifically for African Americans or the indigenous man and woman who owned businesses. He had a target, he had a niche, he had a focus and a dedication. This man had a mission, and he sought it out to be true and manifested. Noting himself as having the gift of gab as one of his reasons that media was his selection for success. Brother Harvey told the FrontrunnerNewJersey.com in a Q&A during October of 2020, just weeks before he passed, in quote, "I saw that business people, particularly businesses of color, were largely ignored. I know access to information is critical to business owners for success. So I created that space by publishing the Black Professional News, a free community newspaper for professional service providers, nonprofits, and business owners." I want to read this one more time so you can really feel me, so you can really feel him, because this was from the Frontrunner New Jersey, and the title of this segment was "In His Own Words." So, in his own words, basically they give you questions, and in your own words, you are answering them questions. So I'm reading this verbatim from his writing. He sent over an email, and this was the email response in part. I'm going to read this again for us all so we can really embody what the goal was and how he was capable of manifesting it back in 1999 when he started the Black Professional News. He said, Brother Harvey said, "I saw that Black people, particularly businesses of color, were largely ignored. I know access to information is critical to business owners for success. So I created that space by publishing the Black Professional News, a free community newspaper for professional service providers, nonprofits, and business owners." I don't know about y'all, But that's some powerful shit. Excuse my language, because I don't really curse on camera. But gosh, that's the most powerful thing I've read in a long time. Because he came with a power. You see what I'm saying? He wasn't coming through with no weak nothing. He wasn't half-assing. He came through with something powerful. This was a blessing. It was black empowerment. Or indigenous empowerment, if my father wants me to say. This man had one of those cups that ran it over, okay? Now I want to bring you to something else. I really believe the Almighty sends us people, leaders, messengers, to do his work. And I might be reaching in the eyes of some of you. For instance, Fard and Elijah Muhammad were doing something really needed when they did their work with the Nation of Islam. And I believe cold-heartedly that Earl Harvey was doing work with the Black Professional News, with his journalistic skills and his profession in media for a people. He used his career in journalism to do the work of the Almighty and to help resurrect a people. He said, Earl Harvey said, largely ignored. They're not largely ignored anymore if there is a niche newspaper to announce them, to announce people of color in business. Now, what I found to be the most incredible is within a few years after starting the print version of the Black Professional News, he took it online in a snap of a finger. What? I have been on the computer for a very long time, and I will honestly say internet wasn't accessible back then in the 90s, early millennial. It was not in households. It was rarely in businesses. So to convert a newspaper online was cutting edge. It is still probably cutting edge still to the day. There are a mega amount of people still not found or using the internet to pivot their business. Earl Harvey used his business when the millennial came, when the 21st century started, to help pivot other people of color's business. I will say that he's ahead of his time. If he was 65, I want to say, when he passed away. 20 years ago, he was 45 years old doing this. One of the first, ahead of his time. Now, I'm going to get my breathing in order and make sure I'm getting all my sketching together as well. But it's somebody to celebrate. And so, like I said, I got to make sure this is a good piece. It's important to us. Look at that smudge there. That look nice. I like that. I hope you like this. I hope you like my sketch story, my sketch show. I do. I'm really trying to grow and tailor these shows a lot better in this second season. So work with me here, everybody. Now, I just want to point this out. I hope I'm not confusing anyone. I don't want anyone to think that I am or at least not to my knowledge, was Earl Harvey affiliated with the Nation of Islam, or was he affiliated with Muhammad Speaks newspaper? I'm using the Nation of Islam and Muhammad Speaks as a comparison. I want to align you all to something triumphant, powerful, both at different times focus on the greatness and the growth of a people, the progression, the growth and the progression of African American business owners, economic stability for people of color. And that's important. Just in comparison, there's probably only a small amount of people who don't know about the Nation of Islam and what they had done, what they are doing. And I will hope that in measure, there's only a small amount of people who don't know about Earl Harvey and the Black Professional News and what it has done. And I also hope that in this sketch show, if there are a minute amount of people who are not aware, I am introducing you to it. It's a goal. And just to change the subject a little bit, well, not really. Going back to my original part of this story. Now, I then gave you the history, the comparison, the cap of it. I want to just pull back a little bit. Remember I told you I wanted to meet Earl Harvey when I was a teenager and shake his hand all crazy? I know you're wondering, well, Maryam, did you meet the man or not? Of course I did. Duh. That's kind of my thing. I have goals too. I didn't have like a really tailored out ideal beyond just telling the one little sentence, and sometimes that's enough for me. Now, let me tell you what happened, okay? I met him a few times. I met Mr. Harvey a few times. Now, the first time I met him, it was at an entrepreneurial mixer event. I stared at him like, oh my gosh, that's Mr. Earl Harvey. Oh my goodness. You know, if you're really close to me, I can be a little animated. If you really, really know me. If not, I'll seem like I'm really like a reserved, quiet wallflower. Okay, just budding, waiting. It's two different versions of me, but I'm still all the same encompassed, depending on how well I know you. But anyway, I boldly walked over. I shook his hand and I said, thank you for everything you're doing for the indigenous journalism community. Oh my goodness, it's so nice to meet you. Mr. Harvey giggled and he was so calm. He was just like, you're welcome. He asked me my name and what did I do? And I told him, oh, I'm a college student. I explained I work for the federal government and I work in the computer operations department. But I'm pursuing a career in graphic design. I'm earning my bachelor's degree in graphics. Now I'm in college, I think I accompanied a friend of mine to this event. So I wasn't really there for the network or the net worth. I was just there, like, hey, go with me to this event real quick in between classes. It's kind of like that. So I really wasn't like heavily understanding what I was going to. But I received, that's for sure. He said, well, keep it up. Said that he would send me an email of his newspaper. I was floored, okay? I shook his hand again. I think I shook his hand so hard, he rattled like a baby's toy in my mind because I'm animated. That's just how I saw it. And of course, Mr. Harvey, he really did send me that newspaper email. And back then, I used Hotmail. I think my email address was like MMCsketch or something like that. It was something savvy because I've always been an artist. So it had like all these letters of my name, and it was silly, but specific enough to know what my niche was. I stuck my email waiting for those newspapers to come through. I didn't see them back then as email newsletters like they're viewed as today. I just thought they were newspapers sent in an email. And I couldn't wait for that to come through. Back then, that AOL, you got mail, but I was Hotmail, okay? I was different. I had Hotmail, so it was like, I'm waiting. And it was exciting for me. My little ways of excitement are totally different than others, obviously. But I couldn't wait to get my emails and find out what was going on in the Indonesia's news of Black ownership. Now, at that time, I did not have my own established organization. Not in marketing, at the least. Not in marketing. I had a small real estate or property management company. Small. I saw no need to advertise at that time. I saw no need. It was specifically to help me afford going to college out of pocket on my own. So I just wanted to take in what others were doing because my parents were entrepreneurs. I have a lot of family members who are entrepreneurs. I was an entrepreneur too, but I wanted to know what everybody else was doing, especially since I was in college for graphic design. And I worked at the federal government in the computer operations section at such a young age. I wanted to be in the know. Not known, but be in the know. Now, the next time, some years later, the next time I saw Earl Harvey was years later. If you're not familiar, Michael Rice, he goes by the Connector. I met Michael Rice at a different networking event years later, and he and I stayed in contact. I had a birthday happy hour, and the Connector, he came through to show some love. He is a Capricorn. His birthday is, I believe, on Christmas Day. My birthday is January 2nd. We're a week apart. Earl Harvey's birthday is on New Year's Day, January 1st. Now, the Connector, he came to my birthday happy hour. So we're hanging out, happy houring it up. And he says, well, after this, he was going over to Earl Harvey's birthday party at the Borscht. Come around if I wanted to. And I damn near closed down everything. I was like, Dave, I gotta go. Earl Harvey having a birthday party around the corner. I gotta go. I took my friends, my girlfriends, and was like, listen, we gotta roll. We got someplace else we gotta be. All of a sudden. I'm like that sometimes. If it's important enough, I'm a skedaddle. I wrapped up. I thanked everybody. I had my little piece of cake. And I bounced. I went around to the Borscht. I had to. I got there. We went upstairs. I believe it was the top floor in one of their event areas. Now, it was a few years ago, so the Borscht doesn't even look the same any longer. Nevertheless, at that time, we went to the top floor, or whatever floor it was, and the Connector, he introduced me, asking something of the sort, like, hey, Earl, do you know Maryam Muhammad? She's a graphic designer, yada, yada, does this, does that. I couldn't believe my ears. I'm glad I'm not one of those people that fall faint easily. You know, just imagine one day somebody said, come meet Oprah. I kind of see like Earl, like, or Oprah, you know? He like Oprah as a man to a certain degree, you know? So anyway, the connector's like, hey, do you know Maryam Muhammad? Something like that, he says. And Earl was like, I've heard of her. I wanted to pop my collar 18 ways. He heard of me? Oh, man. Let me get my pencil together. I don't want to mess up this sketch because I'm getting excited, okay? And I want you all to get excited too because he heard of me. Yes, girl. He heard of me. Yes, people. Now, I hope this story is getting good to y'all and y'all not bored. Like and subscribe, okay? Share too. Invite your friends to watch along. Now, I think at this time in this year was Maryam's Marketing Company LLC was only maybe a year, probably 2 years old, no more than that, in business. It was still a very young business. It still is a very young business now. But I had been freelancing using a DBA, FIAZA. And I, like I already said, I was dabbling in real estate. So, I wasn't really expecting to attract no Earl Harvey or anybody, except for the clients that I had as a freelancer. So it was kind of like, really? You heard of me? Now, I know I said I had already met him 10 years before, but I didn't think I was memorable at all. I mean, I shook the man's hand like he was a damn baby rattle at the least, so I was just kind of floored, taken aback when he said he heard of me. That sentence boosted my self-esteem. I felt like I was going to just, sweep my hair off of my shoulders or something, And I said to myself, woo, woohoo, like I was Homer Simpson, I'm heard of. I gave myself a pat on the back because I did something miraculous. I was so excited, but I didn't even share my journalism history with them still. It escaped my mind. I didn't say anything to him about me being a journalist, a writer, or anything of the nature. I don't think I actually ever did share that with him. Now, of course, time progressed from then. He heard of me, so I had to make sure he kept hearing about little old me. I started to attend more events that were targeted towards the Black professional. I needed to be around and in the know more of what was going on with BPN. Some of the other events that I had been going to in the past were not of my interest anymore. Not in a major way, at the least. I'll go sometimes, but not like that. I had to switch up. I was heard of. It didn't go to my head, of course. But I felt as though, well, shoot, when I was a teenager in high school, I would have loved to have been able to have my column published in his newspaper. Maybe since he heard of me, he'll mentor me a little more. That was where my mind went. So I figured if I come around more, I familiarize myself with him a lot more, I can stop forgetting my sentences, of course, and actually position myself well enough to be mentored. Now, I didn't get that opportunity. I mentioned it, but I didn't take up that opportunity. I was afraid. That's a real sentence, okay? I want to be a little vulnerable if you do not mind. Because I come across sometimes, or I'm being told sometimes, that I'm very confident. And I might come across that way. But I want to be honest in saying I was afraid of his mentorship and the possibilities. It's a real thing when a person can be afraid of their own success or the possibility of what success can come and bring. And I was afraid to take him up on his opportunities that he offered. And I still probably might have that. And that's something to work through once you really recognize what the problem might be. You got to challenge it and start working through it. But I will honestly say I never got the opportunity to at least be mentored by him. But I mentioned wanting to be to him and to some of his colleagues at the Med Week of I think it was 2019, 2018. I went to Med Week and shared my insight and my goals. But I didn't take him up on the offer. What I really enjoyed about Brother Harvey was he'll give you his personal cell phone number and say, call me then. Just like that. And I didn't. We both had the opportunity to promote an event. The event was held at the Yates Free Library. It was a film. The film was a documentary that covered African American millionaires. I believe it was the first ones. And we both promoted and supported this event in different ways, but we both did. We showed up just about at the same damn minute. A little behind time, but at the same damn minute, we walking in there together. And I remember him telling me, you're late. I ain't say you too. Who the hell do I think I am? I said, I know. My bad. Sorry, boss. I'll try better next time. And then he said, you didn't call me. I didn't. I did not call him. I bring this up to you because you never know what tomorrow may bring. We are not promised. We are definitely not promised. That I never called him. I emailed him. Maybe taking the cowardly way. And I regret it. We may have had the opportunity over the last few years of his life to offer additional exposure to different events that were going on in the Black and melanated communities. I may have had the opportunity to share my platform with Earl Harvey by highlighting his business events and his meetings on my platform, the Black and Melanated Film Groups. I had the opportunity to give access to his information to my own niche audience. But what I did not do is seize the moment. Yes, I am an expert in graphic design. I am a professional in journalism and writing. I am outstanding with computer software. And I'm amazing with user interface and web capabilities. But I was a coward when it came to calling and getting better help to pivot my needs. And I hope that if by chance you have just a little doubt, or doubt period, it doesn't have to be little, doubt of any size, you challenge it and try to overcome it little by little. Brother Earl said in his Q&A interview, emailed to reporter Clyde Hughes, the future of mass media is quite exciting. We are in an age of 24-hour news and entertainment cycles, so it's never a dull moment. I do work with community-based newspapers throughout the region. We reach the same audiences, and we try to support each other. And I want to say, end quote, of course, I want to say, although I haven't been viewing the Marker as a newspaper at all, I do view getting community-based news in front of individuals, okay? Working together to support each other is the goal at the Marker, at Maryam's Mark and Company. And I'm very honored to have had the opportunity and the chance to support, even if my support was offered at an atom small size. I am honored to have shared Earl Harvey's mission, offering access to information to business owners as well as potential customers on his behalf. I'm thankful, of course, to have come across such a walk of life that as a little teenage girl was just like, I want to see him, and I was just a little teeny tiny Tweety voice, to have at the least met him, shaken his hand, and done things for and with him. I wish I could have done more. But let me be your example of a wish, coulda, shoulda, woulda. Sadly, on Monday, October 12, 2020, Earl Harvey, 65 years old, died of a heart attack in Atlantic City, New Jersey, according to a statement from the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists. A year later, in December of 2021, I had the opportunity to attend the Earl D. Harvey Celebration of Life and Black Business Advocacy event at the African American Art Museum here in Philadelphia, which was just a wonderful, outstanding, touching, amazing, empowering event. After attending, John Childress shared an email saying, "There is much work to be done. We must continue and build upon Earl's work." And I agree. I was recently notified of the booking for the 2022 Earl Harvey Tribute event. I hope that you all will take a moment to mark your calendars for Saturday, December 3rd, 2022, so that you can be in attendance and support the Earl Harvey Tribute of 2022, keeping Earl's work relevant and building upon Earl's work, as Childress said in his email. I hope that you'll keep your eyes open, and if you don't see anything, research it so that you can find information on the Earl Harvey Tribute event and any ticket details. I hope that you are enjoying this show, because I'm finishing up this sketch, okay? And this is a little touching for me because it is, a memorial sketch, I would say. It's a little different and a great way to start off season 2. So I really hope that you're enjoying today's sketch, because I'm giving you more than my normal line art. My dad was an artist, and he used pastels when he drew or created his masterpieces. When he did his, he would use his fingers a lot to really smudge in and do his shading as well as shadow. I liked his technique, but I don't use it often. I want to be complete. I want to finish. This time, I want to take some of the skill sets that I learned from my father. Although I am and have learned through education, attending different art educational schools, classes, and backgrounds, my father was my first teacher in art. So I want to take these different skills that he's done and smudging, using my fingertips, get a little dirty. Get these hands a little dirty. Six hands about to be a little black at the bottom. So, because Earl Harvey's facial structure has a lot of smile, and I really want to make sure that I'm highlighting his cheekbones and his smile that's brighter than mission or just as bright to light the mission, whichever way you want to put it. But I hope that you enjoy this sketch. I thank you all for tuning in to the Marker Sketch Show, powered by Maryam's Marketing Company, which is a monthly show sharing highlights and newsjack-worthy news using the art of storytelling, one sketch at a time. And today, we highlighted Earl Harvey, more than an idea, an initiative. Born January 1st, 1955, and sadly passing October 12th, 2020. Thank you again for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share, and tell people. And leave your comments. Please do reach out. And if you would like me to sketch anyone, feel free to email over names and pictures too. Toodles!